Okay, talking about zeros on a carbine. So when people are talking about zeros, they're always arguing which one they want to put on their gun. Hey, should I zero this at 25, 50, like 100? Do I want like a 25, 200? All sort of things like that. And when you hear people talking about what's the best zero, what they're trying to do, I think, sometimes they don't even know necessarily what they're trying to do. They're just asking because it's a thing people like to talk about. But the 5200 or something like that is you want to be able to hold center on a target out to, say, a given range and just hold center and hit somewhere on it. So it could be a little high, a little low on the target. You just want it to be on that size target, that acceptable size target. So the first thing you need to worry about is, what is an acceptable size target? Is it 3 inches? Is it 2 inches? Do you want to hit a 1 inch pay streak? Because those are all going to be different answers for you. So I'd say the best way to zero your carbine, if you're looking for something like that for combat effective hits, which I hear people talk about a lot, I'd say probably 12 inches. You want max 12 inch vertical dispersion, because if you're talking about, I just want to hit a torso sized piece of steel or something. Okay, well, armor plate's 10 by 12, so it's probably because that's what they're trying to cover the important stuff with. So I'd say 12 inches maximum vertical. So if you're one of those guys, I'd say do a maximum point blank range zero for a 12 inch target. Now you're gonna ask, what is that? Okay, so basically what that means is, holding center, I want to be able to hit a 12 inch target without a hold over, hold under. I want to pick one aim point out to the farthest distance possible and hit that target. So the way that I accomplish that, to come up with that zero, is you sort of have to have a ballistic solver to figure it out. But this is a pretty close way to get it pretty much damn near on with most ammo types and most optical heights, especially the standard heights like 154 to like a lower third. Is you're gonna end up zeroing somewhere around 3.6 inches high at 100 yards, or a mil. That comes in handy later when I talk into my personal opinion on how you should zero your rifle. So basically what that gives me is my maximum point blank range zero is at 100. That's 3.6 inches above the center line. And these are accurate measurements as well. Like, this is for real where this stuff would line up. So that'll be where I'm zeroed. But now we have to talk about what's going on there. When you're talking about a 5200 or something, you have a relationship between the barrel and your optic. They have to meet at some point. If they stayed in parallel, since the bullet's dropping immediately upon exiting the barrel, they would never meet. It would just immediately start falling in relation to your sight line. Well, your sight line is just an image, so that's going to go straight forever. So you need to make them meet, which means they have to be angled towards each other. So the closer in we are, the more aggressive that angle has to be, given the optical height stays the same. So what that ends up doing is creating what is called a near and a far zero. That is what you're talking about when you get a 5200 or something like that. Is it'll cross the plane of sight at 50 yards, and it'll cross the plane of sight at 200 yards in theory. But obviously, since we know it's falling in relation to gravity, some point in there it's got to be above the line of sight, because it can't change paths of departure. So that is what's known as your max ordinate. So we have here's my max point blank range zero of 3.6 inches above center line at 100 yards, or 1 mil. And then you can see that actually it goes a little bit above that for me. So 150 yards, I'm gonna be right here. My max order would be 4.6. So in my solver, I see that it's 4.6. You're wondering, okay, well, if you want to be able to hit 6 inches above or below, why is that not 6 inches? Taking into account mechanical accuracy of the firearm. It's shooting a group, usually in some sort of a circular fashion of deviation. I'm taking the radius of that, which is 1.5 inches, would be a 2 MOA, would be the radius of a 2 MOA group at 150 yards. That's what this purple is. That's my accuracy allowance. So that group could go all the way out to there at 150 yards. So I still want it to stay on that 12-inch target. So I have that. Then you can see 200 coming back down. That was the peak. So naturally after that, it has to fall back down. 200's right about there. 250, we're dropping back down again, getting close to our center line. And this works out to my near zero is actually at about 33 yards and my far zero is at about 270. Those are the 2 points that this zero intersects my center line. Then I have, at 300 yards, I'm 3 inches low of my center line. And then obviously you say, oh, why is it 3 inches, not 6 inches? Same thing again, except due to the angular deviation of our cone of fire, 1 minute of angle, which is half of our 2 minute of angle gun deviation I'm allowing for this particular zero, needs another 3 inches because that is the radius of the group size. So with that, I will still be on a 12-inch target out to 300 yards, which equates to about, if I hold on my sternum, it'll hit up to my collarbone and down to about the bottom of my lungs, which I would consider an acceptable hit. Not a very big guy. So now the next question is, oh, couldn't I just do a 100-yard zero and hold here and let it drop into that area? Well, no, because you never take advantage of the max or then from your centerline aiming point. So with this same rifle at 300 yards, my drop would be 13.7 inches plus the mean deviation of 3 inches of from the radius, which would give me 16.7 inches of total drop. Now I'm down on my belt line somewhere, definitely outside what we'd consider an optimal hit in the vital zone. So it's 4.7 inches less total drop from a singular aim point than the maximum point blank range zero. Now, when I talk about why I said I like how it's a mil and how that works close to a lot of things is I run a 100-yard zero on my gun. I don't run that zero on my gun. But if I want that zero because I'm okay with good enough fast as far as hits, I crank my turret up to 1 mil. Now I have them zeroed from a maximum point blank range zero. So even if that figure varies from rifle to rifle, you can just note it and apply that zero when you want it. Otherwise, I'm set up off a 100-yard zero to dial my elevation precisely for smaller targets if that is required. And that is why I think a 100-yard zero and knowing your maximum point blank zero so you can apply it when needed is a better option.